Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Halloween special edition of The Scene. Today we're going to be looking at The Blair Witch Project. Okay, just kidding. We're really going to be taking a look at Psycho. Nope, not Psycho either. We're going to be taking a look at The Sixth Sense. I see dead people. How many times can I do that before you unsubscribe? Okay, maybe we're not looking at any of those scenes, but we are going to look at a pretty cool one. Without further ado, let's redo it. Before we even get to the scene, quick disclaimer, I am not a horror movie fan. Not at all. I think there's only been one horror movie that I actually liked, The Shining, but we're not even getting to that this episode. That's going to be a little bit down the road. The scene that I picked was from a movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. This was a recommendation from a friend. I kind of picked a couple people's brains to see what they thought of for Halloween movies, and this scene in particular definitely caught my eye. It doesn't have any kind of crazy, unusual lighting. There's no blood, violence, or gore in this particular scene. And, it doesn't have any of the hallmarks of being a creepy scene. It's just set in a living room with some nice, gentle light from a living room window and kids eating spaghetti. What could be terrifying about it? Apparently a lot. I think it's something in the sound. I don't know. Let's take a look at the scene and then we'll talk about it. Yeah. So, ran into a bit of a copyright issue, so I can't actually show the clip. I'm going to show a couple screenshots next for you to take a look at, and the link to the clip is in the description. So if you want to pause it now, watch the clip, come right back, I'll totally understand. That's really quite a spooky scene, right? There's so much tension going on underneath the scenes, even though it's two people sitting in a living room, one of whom is eating spaghetti, nice light coming in through the window, comfy looking couch. And yet, it's pretty terrifying. And I know that, 90% of that is from the performances by the actors. I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that my performances will probably not elicit that same response. I'm gonna do my best, but acting is not actually my thing. And yet, even with those amazing, amazing performances, there are a couple things in there that really ratchet up the tension. The first is the sound. That weird sound of spaghetti and spaghetti sauce being smushed around a plate is such a gory sound. I'm sure it's used in Foley to recreate some sort of, arms being ripped off or something, I don't know. But it's such a good underlying base for a scene like this, because even when you don't see him eating the spaghetti, you're hearing this, the mushy sound. I don't know, we're gonna have to play with that a lot. The other thing is that really nice slow dolly in on the guy as he's talking, he's shoveling spaghetti into his mouth and delivering those really eerie lines with the really eerie dialogue. I don't know, there's a whole mood going on and I'm kind of into it. So for this episode, there actually isn't going to be a ton of setup. I did use natural light for this. I don't know for sure if they used natural light in the original. They probably had some, extra lights outside the window and that kind of thing to really play it up, control the elements. But I'm just going to go with natural light. Really what we're going to be taking a look at more is sort of the post-production aspect of things. We're going to look at creating that dolly, and we're also going to talk a lot about audio and the spaghetti sounds and all of that. Let's get to it. In terms of setup, really nothing. Just made pasta. The post-production for this scene started like any other, except there had to be a bit more thought going into choosing the scenes that would work best. Part of the spaghetti eater's monologue was actually heard while you were still focusing on Nicole Kidman at the beginning. So I had to pull out the best take of that monologue and layer it underneath the Nicole Kidman scene where I was just sitting there with my mouth open. Then I also had to take the sound of the spaghetti smushing, as I think I called it earlier, and put that underneath that beginning as well, to give the impression that there was something going on that you couldn't see. Audio editing for this was also a little complex. I had to go through and kind of highlight the vocals over the sound effects, and that took a bit of work. Then, of course, going through and adding some color. I didn't want too much color. The original scene was pretty desaturated, but I wanted it a bit more blue and a bit more contrasty than it was originally. If my husband made a mistake, if out of negligence or I don't know what, he caused this tragic thing to happen, I don't understand why I should have to pay the price, why my children should have to pay the price. You know, not long after my dad died, someone told me that I ate spaghetti the exact same way he did. They said, what an extraordinary impression this fact had made on them. Look at the boy, look how he eats spaghetti, exactly the same way his father did. He sticks his fork in and twirls it around, 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 and then he puts it in his mouth. That time, I thought I was the only one who ate spaghetti that way. Me and my dad. Later, of course, I found out that everyone eats spaghetti that way. Exact same way. Exact same way. This made me very upset. Very upset. Maybe even more upset than when they told me he was dead. My dad. I don't know if what's happening is fair, but it's the only thing I can think of that's close to justice. And there we have it. That was the scene. What'd you think? Let me know in the comments below. I will say again, as a complete anti-horror movie fan, this was not my most fun episode for me to choose the material from. But I will say that I do understand the appeal of producing horror movies. This was kind of fun. It was definitely kind of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely had fun making the spaghetti sounds and really trying to make something spooky without any jump scares or, red lighting or blood dripping, costumes, gore, anything like that. And I hope you can appreciate it too. Thanks again for tuning in. See you next time.